Hello, everybody, and welcome to The Scoop on K-State, a show featuring leaders of Kansas State University in our efforts to become a next-gen land-grant university. It's such an exciting time at K-State as we continue to progress and meet the goals established by the university's next-gen strategic plan. Today, I'm pleased to welcome Dr. Karen Goos, Vice Provost for Enrollment Management. Welcome, Karen. Great to have you here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
So we talked a little bit about the strategic plan.
Yeah.
And like today, we talked about more about theme 3, which is deliver an unmatched and impactful student experience. So maybe take a moment to share your vision for accomplishing this goal, maybe some progress, and talk about enrollment success.
Yeah, so we just kind of finalized and sunset our last strategic plan, having met almost every single goal when we started 6 years ago. And over this last year, we have started to build in alignment with our next gen strategic plan, kind of the layer below that, our next gen strategic enrollment plan. And we're really laying on 3 pillars. So this will be us moving into the future, kind of where we are now, building on the successes we've had, and like how do we plan for the future. So we're really looking at 3 pillars: our student mix, how do we recruit the students that we need at the university, student success, kind of with that learner perspective, and then making sure that we're positioning our academic portfolio to be innovative, meet market demands, and looking at our policies and procedures. So really kind of that 3-legged stool of enrollment, of recruitment, retention, and academic innovation. So that's where we're headed with this new strategic plan.
Big job, but you gotta boil it down to those 3.
It is really those 3, and really thinking about the pathways to K-State. So that's the first thing we understand that moving forward, we're going to have to be creative and rethink how do students come to K-State? Who is a wildcat? And I'm really excited about some of the work that's happening there, and that will start to roll out.
Yeah, I think so oftentimes people think about enrollment and they just think about acquisition, but obviously retention's a big portion of that. We know that, you know that.
Yeah.
But thinking broadly, it's like, just bring in more students, but also we need to make sure we retain them and they're having a great college experience. And so I think that's really neat that we are focusing on that.
Well, and that it all feeds together. Somebody kind of laughs, are you just the chief recruiting officer? Yeah, sometimes. But so often in enrollment management, we talk about, we don't want to recruit students to the university. We want to recruit graduates. And so thinking about that plan, that purpose, and how we're making sure that we're living the K-State value of being learner-focused, student-focused. If we do that through recruitment, we do that through what we offer, how we offer it, we're going to be much more successful, and our students and families are going to, we're going to fulfill the promise of a great education, that unmatched experience that you see in the next generation plan.
Yeah, so I started my K-State journey here 20 years ago in admissions.
Okay, yeah.
So I was an admissions rep over 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So this is near and dear to my heart. So the landscape has changed quite a bit in 20 years.
Yeah.
It's all very different. So why don't you talk about, what are some opportunities and challenges that K-State and other institutions of higher education face today?
Yeah, well, the biggest challenge that everybody talks about is the enrollment cliff. So we know that there's going to be significant decline the number of high school graduates.
And why is that? Maybe just share everybody.
Yeah, so we expect over between now and the end of our strategic plan, 2030, about a 5% decline in the state of Kansas and the Midwest. And it's going to accelerate drastically between now and 2041. We expect to see here in the Midwest anywhere from a 12 to 13% decline in the number of high school graduates.
And that all started back from the recession of people having fewer children, right?
Yeah,
and
you can't recruit people who weren't born,
18
right?
18 years later is when we're feeling that impact.
Yeah, and if you pair that with some of the other headwinds that we have, so other headwinds outside of you can't recruit people who weren't born, college going rate overall has drastically declined. So we're looking at almost a 12% decline just in the last 6 years of the number of students who actually graduate, whether they attend a 4-year institution. And then that value of a higher education is certainly something that's, can I afford it? And am I getting my return on my investment? So
I think there's a couple of interesting facts, and just wanted to emphasize those. You talk about that, and that is really something nationwide, but also in Kansas, right?
Absolutely.
So how many students are choosing to attend any post-secondary education,
Yep.
right? So community college, 4-year, that has dropped. That's decreased. It was well over 50%. It's below 50%.
Below 50%.
Which is alarming. We need to make
Yeah.
sure that, people are progressing and getting trades or skills.
That's right.
Education, first state of Kansas and anywhere. But then the other one too is you talk about affordability, right?
Yeah.
We need to make sure that people understand the value of higher education and a degree still there today.
Yeah, absolutely. And they think of the education a little differently than they would. The average cost of buying a car is $50,000 with a depreciating value.
Yep.
So I think it does, we have to remind students and families that there is a value. So it's that perceived value of that education. We want to make sure it's affordable, accessible, but remembering, it has great dividends for the lifetime of your earnings. There is still a benefit.
Absolutely.
But having that conversation is really important.
Yeah. And
the opportunities for K-State
yeah.
are that we're really well positioned. The things that students and families are looking for are some of the things that we have always just been the best at. So we, thinking about access, affordability, making sure that we have experiences
Yep.
that really are really important. Right now, some of the number 3 things that students are looking for in families are they want an affordable education. They want one that's relevant, connected to career. They want to make sure they're going to get a job afterwards. We have a 96%, success rate post-graduation. And they want to know about that they're going to be taken care of, that mental health, that well-being, that vibrant student experience. We're number 1 in the country in that. And so I think we're really well positioned to be successful in this kind of new era
I'm
of
glad you brought
universities.
those up. That's important. I mean, think about 96% furthering education, have a job within, I think within, 6-12 months, very near.
Yeah.
And then you talk about the student experience, constantly rated as top 3, if not number 1.
Yeah.
Student experience year after year, which is incredible. So,
Yeah. We're positioned well to kind of fulfill that promise. So I'm excited about what we can offer.
That's something alumni can be proud of. So speaking of success, we've had some recent success. Congratulations to you and your team. You guys have done a tremendous job.
Yeah, thank you.
4.5% enrollment increase across campus this fall. 4th largest freshman class ever in our history.
Yeah.
So first off, just congratulations.
Yeah,
That's
thank
awesome.
you.
21,000 for credit students and another 6,000 non-credit learners, all part of our 30,000 learners goal by 2030. Maybe just talk about, before we talk about maybe the Wildcat One Stop, your shop, what it looks like, admissions reps, kind of how that's organized, how you interact with students. If students are interested in K-State, where do they go? What's the first steps?
Yeah,
So
well,
talk about all that.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a lot.
Yeah, it is a lot. I think an important part of the success is that it's a collaborative effort. It wasn't any one person or one office. I think I'm really proud of the university because we came together and said, hey, this is really important and we have to work together to kind of turn things around and showcase what's available here at K-State. And so our office has recruiters in state, and then we have multiple recruiters that are scattered all over the country. We've tried to scale our campus visits. Last year we had over 15,000 prospective visitors come through our doors in K-State. So we've tripled that over the last probably 5 years of the number of families that came through. So we want to be able to provide efforts. So anyway, if you're interested in K-State, you tell a friend, you tell a recruiter, you tell your teacher. We've provided ways to get that information in the hands of our recruiters and personalize that outreach as much as possible. And I think we're always room to improve, right? But I think we're doing a lot better job of being able to open the doors for that connection. So yeah, we've scaled and kind of changed the way that we've marketed and we do our recruitment and tried to find ways that we can put it to scale to invite more people to K-State.
Yeah, actually to that point, recently I had an alum reach out and said, here's a student in Texas, they're interested in K-State.
Yeah.
Reach out to your team, and within hours, the regional admissions representative reached out to them.
Perfect.
and already interested, got them connected. So, always encourage them, hey, go to the website, check us out, and get involved. But sometimes it is that, right, is just finding those connections. And that's what it takes sometimes.
Yeah,
right?
we say all the time, especially in our out-of-state recruitment, sometimes our K-State adjacent, it may not be a legacy, but it could be a cousin, a friend, a neighbor can just tell that great story at K-State, and we find out that then they'll give us their information, and that's how we get those out-of-state connections. And that's one of the areas we've really grown over the last couple of years, so we appreciate that.
You talk about partnerships, too. I think an important one that we've had, and kudos to your team, is when I was in missions, we always heard about, why didn't you recruit my niece or nephew or cousin or son or daughter? And the fact is, we didn't know.
That's right.
Now we have the data, not only the data, but you guys have helped us, and we partnered and providing that information so you know who the legacies are. And so I think that is helpful. I don't hear those comments as often, which is great. So now that we have the data, we're able to use it. And, just like scholarships, we have a partnership there. So I just think it's neat how you guys have reached out and partnered with other people to help, further that base.
Yeah, and we appreciate your partnership because, we kind of, how do we solve the problem? We have to do it together, right? So that's really important.
So let's talk about, Wildcat One Stop. That's important for the university, the student experience. Kedzie Hall is a central location on campus. We recently talked about the campus master plan. So what would, that mean for students combining services into that building?
Yeah, so the Wildcat One Stop isn't just about co-locating services. It's really about an idea of transforming the way that we serve our students. And it started with consolidating resources or co-locating resources. But we're really talking about how do we cross-train our frontline individuals to think and recognize kind of the challenges that students are receiving. So they might come in for a financial aid question or drop off a third-party check. And we have that opportunity to engage with that student and then find out, do you also need a payment? Do you have a student records hold? Are you a military veteran who needs assistance in other ways? So really kind of proactively before the student needs to have another question, we kind of already can solve as much as we can up front before the student even knows what the question is. And so it is that opportunity to reimagine and build that connectors behind the scenes so that the student doesn't have to know the question or the office or the person.
Right.
Like we're
they
doing
don't know
that.
what they don't know.
Yeah, we're going to do that on their behalf and really provide that. We want them to feel connected to K-State without knowing like why that is.
Yeah, that's so great. That's a mentality, not just a building.
Yeah.
In that building, going back to the building, Campus Restoration Act is helping us do some of these with the master plan, including Kedzie Hall and that Wildcat One Stop. Maybe just share about budget timeline of the project of that Wildcat One Stop, like kind of centralizing everything.
Yeah. So when we started imagining taking kind of this idea of consolidated services, and we do have a Wildcat One Stop in Anderson Hall, pretty small, got 2 people. It's basically a lobby, and thinking about how do this has been so successful.
That's good.
We've moved from like serving 1,000 students to last year we had 6,000 students come through our door, and we know we're just the tip of the iceberg. So how do we put this to scale? How do we invite other offices in? We knew that we wanted to think about what are the services that tend to have the most referrals, and where should that be? Like where do they naturally go? So we're looking at our student records, registrar's office, cashiering, financial aid. Financial aid has a lot of connectivity with veterans, military affiliated benefits. Cashiering has a connection with financial aid, but also PowerCap Financial. So, we might serve the immediate now, but now they need to create a long-term goal. And so as we think about that, we wanted it connected to both prospective students and current students. Got to be close to parking, got to be close to where those offices already are. So if you are in the union and you're going to get referred through, you're near a lot of academic buildings. We want it to be centrally located, close to where other student services are, and really easy for prospective students to find us, and close to parking. So, when you're trying to serve all learners, right, you got to have it centrally located. And it just seemed like a really natural spot to be right there next to the parking garage and the student union, centrally located.
So let's talk about the Campus Restoration Act, the building, timeline, budget. Let's expand a little bit more on that.
Yeah, so the Wildcat One Stop has been approved through the Campus Restoration Act, which means that we have some support to match building this project. It's been deemed a priority, both by the state as well as campus leadership. And so overall, to do the restoration is going to cost about $20 million. So it is a significant price tag. The state has invested over half of that to be able to, or close to half of that to be able to come to the table. We've identified the university about $4 million, and so we're looking at identifying an additional $4 million to kind of finalize this project and really make it come to life. We're hoping to be able to get that before about 27, 28, so we can start kind of raising and doing the restoration of the building. And hopefully, I think it'll be just a focal point of our recruitment and our retention efforts moving forward. So we're excited about kind of getting it through the finish line and finalizing the project so we can kind of stand this up. That will really truly be one of the first things that we're, students will see.
And that's so important for the student experience, for K-State long term.
Yeah.
What impactful building and, service, like you talked about, comprehensive service.
Yeah, I think it'll really be a game changer for us, both in just the visual, but also that retention efforts. That I think it'll really make an impact.
Yeah, so that's one way alumni can get involved, giving back, supporting this initiative. How else can they support you and your team and K-State?
Our alumni play an essential role in the K-State mission, and we kind of think about it in three ways that our alumni, and we're so appreciative of the partnership that we've had. You've kind of mentioned the working on alumni and the names and the scholarships. But the first one is storytelling. It's the easiest, right? They're a living example of what K-State has to offer and the experiences here, how it can build a foundation for success, and be able to showcase that to prospective students, but current students, to say, when you're struggling, know that it's worth it. Because this is what it looks like on the outside. So just showcasing and telling your story about how important your experience here is. The second one is service. We're working through some new ways that we think that we can engage our alums in. We talked about it. How can we bring back some of the letter writing to admitted students? How could we attend events maybe we can't attend? Or how can we build with
that presence?
That presence within our local communities. So we're hoping, stay tuned. We hope that we'll be able to really find ways to plug in. And then, of course, the last one is the stewardship, right? We know that we have some unmet need. It's the number one reason students don't choose K-State. It's also the number one reason students leave K-State. And so that unmet need is one that we're really going to tackle, knowing that affordability. And so the stewardship and continue to support are kind of those three ways that we know that we think that everybody can plug in one of those three ways.
Yeah, you talk about community visits and engagement.
Yeah.
We recently had the K-State Takeover in Northeast Kansas, the scholarship luncheon. I mean, that was terrific. And we got more planned, I know, how we can partner. And so that's exciting and what we're doing. So we always love to have alumni engaged and definitely help us out. So let's touch on additional opportunities such as scholarships, housing, admissions process, important deadlines, all of that. So kind of walk us through typical, year, whether it be junior, senior in high school, or a transfer student that's come to K-State. What are some key deadlines and things to know?
Well, we're coming up on a really important deadline, actually. So December 1st is our priority date for applications for first-time freshmen. And what that means is if you can get your application in by December 1st, you're guaranteed to be considered for any of our automatic merit scholarships, both through the university as well as many of our colleges and departments now have created automatic commitment awards for our colleges. And so we coordinate that to try to get those out through by the end of January to get those awards out. And then housing comes right on the back into that. So our new housing application will open up December 9th.
Okay.
So you kind of get that first pick, get that priority. If you can get in, you really get in the pipeline, and then we'll start in, as we get the application in, then we'll open up our new student orientation registrations in early March. So transfers and international have a little bit more time just because it takes them, they've got to get done with their first semester, their last semester before they kind of think through some of those logistics. But we've got some important deadlines on the horizon for sure.
Yeah, and I always tell students, if you're considering K-State, apply, right? You can see what you're eligible for, go through the process. That way you just never know what you may receive in scholarships or housing opportunities. It's just great to do it and then, be able to decide later.
Absolutely. I tell students you need to, regardless of where you think apply to 3 or 4 schools. Yeah. And then compare. Put us up against.
Come for a campus visit.
Come for a campus visit. Put us up against. Give yourself the best opportunity. I think when most students do that and they come, they have a chance to visit with our faculty, to engage with our students, we shine.
We stand out.
We stand out amongst the others. And this really can be somebody's home away from home. And that's what we want. Again, that idea of we want you to be a completer. We want you to thrive. So we were really looking out for the best in students.
Yeah.
That's our goal.
And I always told students this, and I was one of them, that even if you feel like you've come to K-State, 100 times for games, whatever it is, come for a campus visit. Because I was a local student, came to K-State, thought I knew, everything. I did nothing. It was totally different.
Yeah.
Come for a visit, like you said, see the campus, meet with faculty, meet with staff. That's really important. You get a good feel, and you'll know if it's the right spot for you. And most of the time, we shine, and they end up being K-Staters when they come visit.
Yeah, so many times we even have faculty and staff when they come for a campus visit, they're like, I've learned, just to be able to see it through a new lens. I've learned something I didn't know about
people that worked here for 10, 20 years.
Absolutely.
They're like, wow, I had no idea.
Yeah, that's fun.
It's informative.
Yeah.
So, anything else?
Yeah, I just really wanted to say thank you for your incredible partnership. I think, we've had some great opportunities. I'm really excited about some of the conversations that we have moving forward and thinking about, our successes in enrollment and student success. They truly are collective. And I'm excited to widen that circle of engagement to include more of our alumni moving forward. So I think the continued growth and success and letting everybody be a part of it is what I'm looking forward to in this next phase of our strategic enrollment plan.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. We got a great association team and partnership, and happy to do it. So thank you for everything you've done. And you continue to do for K-State. Really proud that we continue to have that success and all that effort. I know that's a lot of leadership and strategic vision. So great job, and thanks to all of you. Now we get to enjoy one of my favorite parts of the podcast, some ice cream. So we actually have some Kaha ice cream.
Perfect.
So a little chocolate and vanilla.
Excellent.
And we get to enjoy that. But thank you for everything.
I appreciate it. Thanks so much.
That wraps up another episode of The Scoop on K-State. I'm Adam Walker, President and CEO of the K-State Alumni Association, and I want to thank you for watching and listening to our show. Until next time, be sure to share this podcast with other K-Staters, select that follow button on your podcast app so you'll never miss another episode. On behalf of K-State Alumni Association, we are proud to be #1 in the Big 12 in terms of membership, and we value and appreciate your ongoing support. If you're not currently a member, please consider joining. And of course, Karen, go Cats.
Go Cats.